Hello everyone, welcome to my video. This is Shakil Ahmed. Today I discuss Walrasian equilibrium allocation, uniqueness of Walrasian equilibrium allocation, and the relationship between Walrasian equilibrium allocation. So let's go the Walrasian equilibrium allocation. Walrasian equilibrium allocation. Walrasian is a distributed of goods and resources across consumer in the economy. Each consumer maximize utility at given price. All market clear, supply is equal to demand. Formal condition, xi star solve utility maximization, maximize uix subject to p star x less than p star ei. Market clearing summation eix is equal to summation ei. We can see in this graph, let's two consumer in the society and two goods. Consumer 1 and consumer 2, goods 1 and goods 2. Consumer 1, then endowment EM1, but demand of goods 1 EXM1. So excess endowment for goods 1. But goods 2 demand EM1, but endowment EM1, excess demand of goods 2 rather than endowment. Consumer 2 endowment EM2, but goods 2 demand EM2, excess endowment of EM2 to XM2. But EM2, consumer 2 demand goods 1 EM2, but endowment EM2. Excess demand of goods 1. Two consumer negotiation. This point is a parity efficient point and feasible point. A feasible allocation where no consumer want to deviation. Where is point market clearance summation EI star is equal to summation EI. Next slide. Uniqueness of Walrasian equilibrium allocation. The uniqueness of Walrasian equilibrium allocation mean that given consumer preference and initial endowment, there is only one way to allocate goods among consumer constituents with imperative equilibrium. K properties. Local uniqueness is equilibrium price vector is isolated finite number of equilibria. Here 1, 2 and 3 individual equilibrium where isolated equilibrium. Stability, small change in endowment, preference, restore uniqueness. Next slide. Relationship between Walrasian equilibrium and the core. Core of an economy, set of a feasible, unblocked allocation, no coalition of agent can improve. In this graph, we can see consumer 1 and consumer 2. Consumer 1 endowment E1 and demand of X1 goods X1. Excess endowment net supply of good 1 by consumer 1 and consumer 1 demand X2 but endowment E1, excess demand of X2, net demand of goods 2 by consumer 1. Consumer 2 endowment E1 for goods 2, but demand of goods 2 X2, excess endowment for goods 2, net supply of good 2 by consumer 2, and endowment E1 goods 1, but demand of goods 1 O2 to X1. So excess demand for goods 1, net demand of goods 1 by consumer 2. Total area is a core point, and X1 is a feasible point and Walrasian equilibrium point. X point is a block point, and core point represent the consumer say unblock and Pareto improvement in the other consumer. But X point, no consumer exchange to others consumer, the Pareto improvement, because one consumer Pareto improvement and other consumer works on. So consumer no access to improvement of the other consumer. Relationship with Walrasian equilibrium allocation, the core always contained with Walrasian equilibrium. That means X1 is Walrasian equilibrium, and the total region is Walrasian equilibrium allocation belongs to the core if of E. Walrasian equilibrium allocation is part of the core. C for E is greater than W for of E, and W of E is subset of CE. Total region is core point, and subset is X point is Walrasian equilibrium point. So the subset of Walrasian equilibrium point is the core point. At this point, consumer 1 use all these endowment P1 E1 plus P1 E1 to only buy goods 1, and other sector consumer 2 apply to the theory. Thank you everyone for watching my video.